was at uni, living life, happy. I was about 18, and January 2 years ago now, I started to feel quite ill, wasn't really sure what was going on, thought it was a bug or something. I went to the doctor, they just said rest, keep resting, wasn't really sure what happened, and it just got to the point where over a course of a month, 2 months, that I just couldn't leave bed. And I found myself not being able to do the normal things that I normally do, and in the end I had to drop out of university and come home. And I'd gone from being a normal teenager to being like an elderly invalid person, and that was horrible. It was really, really hard, I think, being so young, because it's kind of like your life is supposed to be in front of you, and it was not. There was just nothing in front of me.
Yeah, I don't want to go as far as to say she was slipping away. She wasn't doing that, but she wasn't the person she used to be. And you know, when she had those brief moments where everything was sort of, if you like, compos mentis and all the things were fitting together, then that was good. But you know, there was just this blasted fatigue that just laid her low.
It kind of just developed from there, really, to the point where what was meant to be just resting turned into just fatigue, to the point that I couldn't move, and I spent sometimes 22 hours a day in bed, and then I'd just get up literally just to go to the toilet and drink, and then go back to sleep, because I couldn't physically function like a normal human being. Then you eat, it gives you energy, you sleep, it gives you energy. With me, I could eat as much as I wanted, and sugar, food, whatever it was, and I could sleep as much as I wanted, but it didn't stock up my body. I just was still at 0%. Like, your body just doesn't want to work, and so amongst other things, I had, you know, like kidney pain, I had stomach pain, I had headaches, I couldn't eat. All those things together, kind of, they do ring alarm bells, I think, and so I would go to the doctors. Initially, I went just because my flatmate was like, "Oh, you're really weird, you should go to the doctor." And I was like, "I will go to the doctor then." And I went, and she just gave me some medicine and said, "Come back." And it just, what was supposed to be a month's rest turned into nearly a year, 2 years, so.
But this was almost every other day, wasn't it?
It was. I was going back and forth, and each time a doctor would give a different solution or a different idea. "Are you sure it's not just because you're anxious? Are you sure you're not stressed? Are you sure it's not because you're a student and you're drinking too much?"
You've missed out one thing.
What?
Are you pregnant?
Oh my God.
Every time. Are you pregnant? Are you sure?
I've been around horses for as long as I can remember. I pretty much say I was born around horses' legs. Like, I grew up on my grandparents' farm around horses, and my mum and dad met through horses. So it's always been a part of my life. That wasn't just my hobby, it was kind of like my lifeline. All the way through my life, it had been something that had kept me happy when things got hard. It was something that gave me freedom. It was something that it was a part of my life, and suddenly I couldn't do it. I couldn't get out of bed, yet alone go to see my horse and go for a ride. Like, I think it got to a point where I was riding once every 3 to 4 months, which was horrible.
And as a parent, you get used to being able to do things, you know, "Dad, this hurts," or "I'm not this," and whatever.
Dr. Daddy's surgery.
Yeah, my magic box of blue plasters that cured everything was of no use anymore, and you feel quite powerless. And I didn't have the answers, and that was the first time in my life I didn't have an answer.
It wasn't a case of, "Oh, take these tablets and you'll be fine in 24 hours. It was, well, you could get better, or you could be bedbound for the rest of your life.
I just used to cuddle you, didn't I?
Oh, yeah, a lot. I used to just come down, and we used to just cuddle, me and Mum, me and you. It was really hard. Oh, Dad. Oh, bless you.
It was horrible.
It just doesn't affect one person, it affects the whole family. It really does.
was scrolling down Facebook one day, probably in one of my bad days when I was in bed. I was just scrolling and I happened to see this post by John, and it said no drugs involved, no medicine, because I thought I don't want to go on some dodgy trial. And so I don't know what it was, but something in my gut said apply. John and Karen released a video together which was just explaining who they were and a little bit, they couldn't reveal what the trial was, so it was just saying who they were and what they hoped to do and how they had helped people in the past. And I showed it to you and Mum. I remember being sat at home and I sat down and I showed it to them, and you were still skeptical. I remember you both being like, well, who's he and why does he know how to do this, and why does she, but I don't know, I just kind of said, I think it's worth, what have I got to lose at this point? And I feel that's what the condition does to you, and it's something that resonated with almost all of us, is what have you got to lose at this point? I think it took a few weeks for me to get into the idea of what it all was, because everybody experienced it at different rates. So some people, it took a week, me it took 2 or 3 weeks, and then I improved over the next month. That was when I had the breakthrough, when I had a one-to-one call with John, because I was essentially, I remember it because it was about 2 or 3 weeks into the study, and I was at a point where I had to sleep. Like, I couldn't function without sleeping and napping for at least 3 or 4 hours a day. During that call, I remember I was talking to him, and then halfway through he said, "Do you feel tired?" And I went, "What?" And he goes, "Do you feel tired right now?" And I just stopped and I thought, no, I don't. John was like, "What if you just did it?" And I was like, that's crazy. He was like, "What if you just did it?" And then it was the realization that those symptoms were caused because I was going, now I am going to be tired tomorrow, rather than just being like, I'm tired. And that's normal because my body's walked and done things. So I'm allowed to be tired, I'm human. And I think that's the difference, is the getting in that headspace of the understanding of your body and the understanding of what was going on was really key. When we started, John asked us to write 5 things that we thought were impossible. And mine was stay awake for a whole day, to do something spontaneous, because with ME, nothing can be spontaneous. You have to plan your entire life around time management and energy management. To go on holiday with my boyfriend, because the thought of a holiday was ridiculous. I couldn't even stay awake at home, let alone abroad. To do an endurance ride with my horse, because that's big physical stamina. It would be about 20k kind of thing, and I would love to have been able to do that. And to just be able to live a normal life, really go out clubbing. And all 5 of those genuinely felt impossible. And it came to the end of the study and I realized that I'd done 4 out of 5 of those, and then by the end of the summer, I'd done all 5. And I just kind of had this moment where I just went, oh my God, it's possible, and I've done it. Karen definitely helped me understand the kind of, well, she was funny all the way through, like a bit of like comic relief. She called the revelation moment rainbow farting unicorns. Because that moment of just, oh, I get it, was just great. But it was more than that. She provided the medical evidence to support the work that John was doing. So John it made it easier to get on board with it and understand it, because it had that supported scientific side of things to explain, not just the mental side of someone going, oh, well, this is all in your head. It was saying, but this is why, and this is what happens in your head. So that was really helpful. I remember they said, do you think how to breathe? Do you think how to digest your food? No. So why do you have to think about controlling your tiredness? You don't. It's your body's job. And that's what I think I learned, is that my body is incredible and it does what it's done without needing my help. I had to trust my gut. I had to bear with it for a while because it was a bit out there and different, and it was Initially, when I wasn't seeing results in the first few weeks, it was frustrating. But once you get that click, that light bulb moment, which I can't describe or explain properly, but once you get that, it kind of made it all worth it. So that trusting and that risk really made it worth it. June this year, I did a 20k endurance ride on my horse, and it was our first endurance ride ever, and we came second, and then we did a show and we became reserve champion at the show, and for me, being able to do that is incredible.
This trial, whatever it was, whatever it did, has almost taken her out of the dark and into the light. And I think then she's more capable to deal with things on a day-to-day basis, week-by-week basis.
I went from a place of no hope to now feeling normal, but more than normal because I have this insight, which a lot of people don't have, that goes beyond just the condition, but into life as a whole. A perspective of who you are as a person and how your body and mind interact as one, and it's just getting control of your life, and it just went beyond.
It's given her life back, but it's given her the tools now to make decisions and go forward. And do you know what? Once you've learned to put one foot in front of the other, then you develop confidence. And you develop the confidence needed to take the next step and the next movement forward. So what I saw in a matter of weeks, months, was a bouncy, positive, forward-thinking young lady who was, again, a joy to be with. I think in life, as you grow up, as you get older, you realise that actually sometimes the cures for certain issues, and that's not always health, are sometimes the simplest ones. And that's not to say that what John is doing is simple, but I think the route that he's taken is remarkable.
In the end, it completely changed my life and transformed the way I feel about my life and what was possible. And I'm so glad that I trusted my gut, and I am so glad that I worked with John.
My feelings about anybody future working with John would be to trust him. Trust him. The proof of the pudding is there to see.